Yeah, I've always really loved music.
Mm-hmm.
I've never studied it formally. Like I've had piano classes, flute lessons, whatever. I was in concert band and choir groups and stuff
Mm-hmm.
through like grade school, middle school, high school, but never had any formal musical education.
Mm-hmm.
So my bachelor's actually is a double major in international politics and French literature, and then
Politics, president.
yeah, it was not
Oh,
my
okay.
choice. It was not my
Oh,
choice.
that's what I was going to ask you. Did your parents kind of
Yes.
make really? What were they thinking? Because to force you into that, was it because you said you wanted to be a president, or I mean, I don't know if parents can really force, but they can, right?
Have you met Asian parents?
Did you have the typical tiger mom?
No, it was
No.
it was my father. It was
Oh,
like,
really?
like, oh, haha, I'm gonna send you off to the States because I want a better education for you. But like, you do everything I want, otherwise you have to pay for school yourself. And it's like, I'm 14. I don't have like 40 grand
Right.
US. So sure thing, Dad, whatever you say. Like,
Oh, yeah. So okay, he sent you off to the States when you were born in
I
Taiwan.
was born in Taiwan.
Okay, you sound like American, but like he sent you off to the States. When did you go to the States?
Um, when I was 14, so for ninth grade boarding school in
Okay.
Pennsylvania.
Oh, Pennsylvania. So how was it over there in boarding school?
It was a really big culture shock because there were more cows than people. Like,
They say there's more sheep than people in New Zealand, but in Pennsylvania, was it a farm country?
it was farm country. Like, I was deep in like Amish country. Like,
Oh,
I
yeah,
was really
that's right, the
close to
Amish.
Lancaster.
Yeah. We
You know,
visited Lancaster. Yeah, oh my gosh.
going to Walmart, we passed by like horse and buggies on the side of
Yeah,
the street.
yeah,
Like it was deep country. Our town had one McDonald's, one Subway, one Chinese food restaurant, one bowling alley that is now closed, and then two gas stations that were right across from each other. Like it was a super, super small town.
So, why did your dad choose or parents choose that place?
I applied through one of those like 留学补助
Oh,
or
okay,
whatever
right.
programs here in Taiwan. And then they had a fair and a bunch of schools came and applied to a bunch of schools, and I was not a great student academically in Taiwan or in the States. I got a lot better in higher education, but for lower education, I think I really struggled with the structure of everything and the way that I like to learn and like to ask questions really didn't jive with Taiwanese education.
System, yeah.
So my grades weren't great, and I didn't get into too many schools. But yeah, I got accepted into Mercersburg, and I went there, and it was a really great experience. It felt great actually because I was feeling really stuck and stifled in Taiwan, and then tensions with my family were pretty bad at that point. And I really wasn't enjoying school. I wasn't fitting in. I never really fit in with a lot of like the social groups here. So although initially it wasn't my choice to leave and I didn't want to leave, but when I got there, it felt really good.
Did you already know English before that?
I did. My mother, brilliant and confusing woman that she is, has never lived abroad, hasn't really studied any foreign languages. Like she knows Japanese. She took like Japanese at community college, but she got it into her head that I needed to speak English. And then so she found like the best like preschool program that she could find in Taipei that was only in English. Like
Wow.
a lot of programs now and even back then when I was growing up in Taiwan were bilingual. But she found one that was only in English. And so yeah, she sent me there, and yeah, so I basically grew up speaking only English in school, in preschool, and then Taiwanese at home. And I didn't learn Mandarin until I went to primary school in
Oh,
first grade. The preschool program. And then once you hit primary school, they had like after school language arts programs, almost like 补习班, but it was just basically a second school.
Okay.
And it was a really, really fun program. There's, I feel like it's like, this show is sponsored by, no. No, it was a really, really great program. And then at the time, they only had offerings up until I think 4th grade. And I remember I was the first like 5th grade class they ever had, but then they couldn't find a teacher to do 6th grade in middle school. So that was it. Like I went into private tutoring after that. But now I'm pretty sure they have a pretty full program. And they're in Dan. Like,
So why is your mom so set on you on English? Because you said she knew some Japanese.
She, through like her social circles, had met a few really, really incredible women who had like emigrated abroad to either Canada or the States or Australia and had like come back to have kids or whatever. And she always thought they were really, you know, like strong-minded, independent, like charming, charismatic women. And yeah, she just got it into her head that that was the future that I needed to have, and I'm endlessly grateful for that. I kept up with reading and writing Chinese. Like my father really insisted on that. You know, I remember I came back for the holidays and he was like, all right, you know, like let's get on a regimen for the summer. You gotta make sure you do all of like your summer homework or whatever. And I said, oh, we don't have like homework over the summers. It's vacation. I don't really want to do homework. And he was like, homework is for foreigners, Taiwanese people, like Taiwanese kids don't get like, no, sorry, vacation is for foreigners, Taiwanese people don't get vacation. Like you come back, you gotta like, he gave me like books to read. He sent me off to like different like internships, different volunteer things.
Wow.
Yeah.
I guess, would you say that your parents were typical Taiwanese parents in terms of that relating to your?
In some ways, I think. I think in many cases, it's usually the mom who does most of like the more overbearing. The dad's usually like sort of more detached, laid back, like I don't really care. Like But in my case, it was a bit different.
Okay, was your dad like in business or something like that, where he was super focused and super driven?
Yeah, like self-made businessman. I was like, if I can do it, you can do it. I didn't have a choice growing up.
Oh, yeah.
It's like I also don't have a choice, Dad, but in a very different way. I was forced. I mean, I wanted to study language. I've always loved studying languages. So when I was 8, against my wishes, my mom pulled me out of ballet classes, like crushing my dreams of becoming like, you know, queen ballerina or whatever.
Wow.
And then put me in French tutoring for 3 hours every week. And that's like French. Okay. 3 hours every Saturday with 2 other kids my age. And then my teacher, my French teacher, who actually was my preschool teacher previously. And it was fun for what it was at the time, but it was still very stifling for me because it was like, oh, you know, 3 hours every Saturday. And so, you know, I got introduced to, at that point, that was my, 4th language, very, very early. And then I went to the States and I came back and I was like, I feel like studying another language. Like, so I was like, I want to go study German. And then my dad initially was like, no, don't waste your time on that. But the moment that he saw there was like a benefit to it, he was like, you need to focus more on studying German. It's like, this was my hobby. Like, why are you ruining it? Why are you ruining it? So yeah, I at one point I was taking like intensive German classes, 3 hours a day, 5 days a week, and then like advanced level French classes on Saturdays. So, and on top of that, like going to volunteer for different like political campaigns or like working part-time at his office. It was a lot. It was a lot.
Oh, was your dad in politics? No. So
business.
So why did he, I mean, so if you had your own choice, what would you have studied?
I actually initially really wanted to go into like psychology or anthropology.
Okay, this is when you got older and you kind of already knew what.
Yeah,
Yeah,
like
yeah.
high school, around high school.
Yeah.
You know, I remember talking to him about that and he actually laughed at me. He's like, you know, to be like in psychiatry or psychology, you have to go through med school. I'm like, he's like, you think you can handle med school?
Oh,
I'm
you're
like,
great.
"Oh, okay,
Oh,
cool.
crush you down.
Thanks. Love
Wow.
you too. But then once I got to college, I so my first year in college, I went to a small liberal arts college on Staten Island.
Yeah.
And my first semester, they assigned me a bunch of classes that I didn't pick. But like, you know, they were like, oh, what's your projected major? And what are some of your interests? And then they put me in like an LC, a learning community, where they assigned me a certain amount of classes. And then one of them was art history. And because history was something that my dad had really forced me to study, especially about Taiwan for so long, I had like such an aversion to
Right.
it. I didn't want to touch history. I thought art was this beautiful freedom of expression. And why do we have to tie it into history? History is so oppressive and boring. It's